Before empires, before walls, there was the wind. Across the Mongolian steppe it moved unhindered, cold, merciless, eternal. It shaped a people as wild and relentless as itself. They called themselves the Mongols. Nomads without borders, born to the saddle, living beneath a sky so vast it erased the notion of kings. To survive here meant speed, obedience, and vengeance measured in hooves. They hunted wolves and became wolves. They buried their dead in silence and learned that mercy was a luxury of softer lands. When they looked west, they saw not nations, but prey. No empire feared them yet. The civilized world, China, Persia, the caliphates, the Christian kingdoms, knew little of the tribes beyond the Gobi. But soon, the horizon itself would carry a sound none could forget. The drumbeat of 10,000 hooves. The steppe was about to give birth to a storm. And history would name it Genghis Khan. He was born in winter when even the rivers froze solid. His mother named him Temujin, after a captured enemy. An omen of strength, or curse of vengeance, no one could tell. His tribe was poor, his father a minor chieftain. When the boy was 9, his father was poisoned by rivals. The clan abandoned his family to die on the plain. Hunger became Temujin's first teacher. He hunted fish with bone hooks, stole food from traps, fought off wild dogs for scraps of meat. He learned that life gave nothing, it had to be taken. As he grew, he learned loyalty, betrayal, and the language of power. Once, captured and enslaved by a rival tribe, he escaped at night, killing his guard with a fragment of iron. In that moment, a legend stirred. They said he carried the spirit of the grey wolf, patient, cunning, born to lead the pack. And as he rode beneath the endless sky, he swore a vow. I will unite the tribes. I will make one nation from all the nations of the steppe. The world did not yet tremble. But the wind had changed direction. In the years that followed, Temujin forged unity from chaos. The Mongol tribes were fractious, bound by blood feuds older than memory. He turned vengeance into law, loyalty into weapon. He rewarded merit, not lineage. A herdsman who fought bravely could rise above a noble. He broke ancient hierarchies with iron discipline. Those who joined him lived under his protection, those who resisted were destroyed. Around his standard gathered the tribes of the Wolf Banner, Amerkits, Naimans, Taichi-Yud, and Tartars, names that once bled each other now rode side by side. He called his warriors the Keshig, the chosen guard. 10 became 100, 100 1,000, 1,000 10,000. He divided them with precision, units of 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, the tumen, the heartbeat of the horde. In 1206, on the banks of the Onan River, a council of chiefs crowned him Genghis Khan, universal ruler. Eagles circled overhead. Drums thundered across the valley. The tribes knelt, and for the first time, the steppe spoke with one voice. The boy who had starved alone was now master of a nation without walls. The age of horse and fire had begun. The first to feel his wrath were the Tartars, the very tribe that had poisoned his father. He annihilated them to the last child. Then he turned east toward the rich cities of China's Jin dynasty. The Mongol armies moved like wind-made flesh, silent, swift, merciless. They traveled hundreds of miles a week, each rider carrying spare horses, able to fight day and night without pause. Their tactics were revolutionary: feigned retreats, encirclements, signal flags, coordinated attacks across vast distances. Against cities, they used captured engineers to build siege weapons. Against armies, they used fear itself. Villages that resisted were erased. Those that surrendered were spared, and used to spread tales of terror. Cities opened their gates at the mere sight of Mongol scouts. Genghis Khan understood psychology better than any general of his age. If you wish to control your enemy, he said, first make him afraid of you. By the 1220s, his banners stretched from the Pacific to the Caspian. His messengers carried orders faster than empires could respond. His soldiers called him the father of victory. His enemies called him the scourge of God. And the world began to burn. In 1221, in the Persian city of Nishapur, the Mongol War reached its darkest chapter. The city had killed a Mongol prince, Genghis's beloved son-in-law. In response, his daughter begged for vengeance. Her father granted it. When the Mongol army arrived, they gave Nishipa one chance to surrender. The gates stayed closed. The next morning, the city ceased to exist. For 3 days and nights, the horde slaughtered every living soul, soldiers, merchants, women, children, even animals. The streets ran like rivers of blood. Chroniclers claimed the skulls of the dead were piled into pyramids so high they blotted the sun. When it was done, silence ruled. A wind swept through the ruins, carrying the ashes of one of civilization's oldest cities. To the Mongols, it was justice. To the world, it was apocalypse. But from the horror rose a terrible message: resist and die. Submit and live beneath the rule of the Khan. It worked. Cities across Central Asia opened their gates without a fight. Fear had become his greatest general. With Khwarezm and Persia broken, the ancient Silk Road, the artery of world trade, lay open to conquest. Once it carried silk and spices, now it carried fire. From Samarkand to Bukhara, from Merv to Herat, the Mongols left behind deserts of ash. The turquoise domes of mosques turned black with soot. Scholars, merchants, and poets fled westward, carrying tales of riders who devoured kingdoms in weeks. Yet amidst the destruction came something paradoxical: order. Caravans now traveled under Mongol banners, taxed but protected. Bandits disappeared, law replaced chaos, so long as tribute was paid. Genghis Khan understood empire as he understood war, not chaos, but control through fear. He appointed governors, codified laws, established the yam, a vast courier network of stations and fresh horses that could relay messages from China to the Caspian in days. Trade resumed under the shadow of conquest. Even Venice and Genoa sent envoys eastward. The world's maps expanded, and the myth of an invincible horselord spread to the edges of Europe. But beneath the triumph lay exhaustion. The steppe had unleashed its fury, and even the greatest of storms cannot rage forever. In the tents of the great Khan, drums still beat, but softer now, as if the wind itself paused to listen. A shadow moved on the horizon, the beginning of the end. When the east was ashes, Genghis turned his gaze west. Beyond the Caspian lay lands unknown, cities of stone and cathedrals of faith that had never heard the thunder of the steppe. In 1220 his scouts crossed the mountains into Persia and beyond, the horizon widening with every hoof beat. At Khalkha River they met the princes of the Rus, armies heavy in mail and pride. The Russians marched in banners and hymns, the Mongols in silence. The battle lasted a single day. The Rus broke beneath the circling horsemen, crushed and suffocated. Prisoners were laid beneath planks while feasts were held upon them, a lesson carved in fear. Then, as suddenly as they had come, the Mongols vanished back into the steppe. To Europe, they became a legend, riders of the apocalypse, ghosts on horseback whose coming meant the end of kingdoms. The wind had found new worlds to haunt. A generation later that wind returned, harder and colder. Genghis was gone, but his grandsons rode under his banner. In 1241 they struck again, Poland, Hungary, the gates of Vienna. The ground shook beneath hundreds of thousands of hooves. At Legnica, knights of Europe charged in shining armor. By nightfall the plain was metal and blood. At Mohi, the Hungarian host was trapped between river and fire, wiped from the earth. No fortress could stand, no king could sleep without fear. The chroniclers wrote, "The wrath of the Tartars is the judgment of God." And yet, on the eve of victory, the riders turned back. From Karakorum came news: the great Khan Ojide was dead. Tradition demanded that every prince return to choose a new ruler. Europe was spared, not by sword, but by ritual. The hammer of the steppe had struck the west and withdrawn, leaving kingdoms trembling in its echo. Even conquerors cannot command death. In 1227, returning from campaign, Genghis Khan himself fell, whether from wound, illness, or betrayal, no one knows. His burial place was hidden, his escort killed so none could speak. Somewhere in the wild heart of Mongolia, the steppe received its son back into silence. But a darker enemy waited beyond his grave. In the years that followed, disease traveled the same roads his armies had opened. Traders and rats carried it from east to west, the plague that would one day be called the Black Death. Where once his horsemen had thundered, silence now fell from sickness. The empire he built stretched from the Pacific to the Danube, but its beating heart had stopped. Without the wolf's will, the pack began to stray. Power seldom survives its founder. After Genghis came his sons and grandsons, Ojide, Monkey, Kublai, Batu, warriors, dreamers, rivals. Each claimed the right to rule all beneath the eternal blue sky. Civil war followed. The empire fractured into four great khanates: the Yuan in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Chagatai in Central Asia, the Golden Horde in the West. From a single flame had come four fires, each burning in different directions. Kublai Khan conquered China and built a throne in marble, calling his capital Khanbalik, Beijing. His brother Arikbok fought him for the soul of the steppe and lost. The age of tents was giving way to palaces. The nomads had become emperors, and with empire came decay. The unity forged in blood dissolved into distance. The wind that had once carried one banner now scattered 100. Yet even broken, the Mongol Empire reshaped the world. For a century there was peace across continents, the Pax Mongolica. Caravans could travel from the Black Sea to the Yellow Sea under a single law. Thieves were hanged at the roadside, merchants slept beneath the stars unafraid. Ideas moved with the trade: paper, gunpowder, printing, compasses, art, and plague alike. Marco Polo rode those same roads to Kublai's court and carried back tales that would fire Europe's imagination for centuries. The Mongols had not only destroyed the old world, they had connected it. They turned isolation into contact, fear into exchange. Their empire taught that no wall, no mountain, no desert could forever keep peoples apart. Why today the steppe is quiet again. Wind moves through the grass where once the greatest army on earth rode. If you stand there at dusk, you might still hear it, a distant rumble, a whisper of hooves fading beyond the horizon. Genghis Khan's empire is gone, yet its shadow covers half the world. Nations bear borders drawn from his campaigns, languages carry his words, millions still bear his blood. He began as a hungry child and became a myth. He forged unity through fear, law through fire, an empire through motion. And when he vanished, the world he left behind could never again pretend to be separate. Empires rise, fade, and fall into dust. But the wind endures. Across the Mongolian plain it still carries one name. Softly, endlessly, like the echo of thunder. Genghis Khan.